From Cedar Park, Texas, live, it's Timberwolf Night in America. This is the Vype Live Network, and tonight we kick off another season of nonstop honking of the Cedar Park football horn. I'm the V of the T, voice of the Timberwolves, Brad Cohn. It's our first show of the season, the 108th show overall in 8+ seasons. We're live from our new venue, Brooklyn Heights Pizza, near the corner of Palmer and Avery Ranch in Cedar Park. We'll be here until 9 o'clock. Come on over and join us. Now, with me tonight as we kick off a brand new era for this outstanding football program, the king of Laces Out, the former whiteout, a member of our 2010 district championship team and regional finalist, respected archaeologists fight over his discarded apple cores. He bowls overhand. There ain't no boulder holder than my own personal Chris Collinsworth, and that's lifetime Timberwolf Josh Willard. All right, good deal. Josh, we've got new equipment this time. It took us forever to try to get all the connections working, and we're still working with it. Josh's mic's a little soft, and I'd work with that to adjust that a little. Josh Cargile, our quality assurance agent tonight, closely and diligently monitoring the broadcast from these super secret, high-tech, low-maintenance, ultra-modern, technically advanced, stealthily cloaked Vype studios, making sure we don't sound like a length of chain thrown into a wood chipper. Tonight we are stoked to have with us as our first guest of the season, the new head coach of the Timberwolves, Michael Quintero. We'll be having an extensive conversation with him this evening, starting at about the top of the hour. Now, for those of you new to this, we will do this show every week in which we have a game. We take bye weeks off, just as the team does. Every Tuesday night prior to a Friday or Thursday night game, Josh and I will be here at Brooklyn Heights broadcasting this show, Timberwolf Night in America. This year's sponsors of the Booster Club and this program, Toyota of Cedar Park, HEB, Rudy's Barbecue, Mungia Real Estate, Alzer's Barbecue. Our touchdown sponsor this year, TJ Lewis Real Estate, Army Ant Moving, WAFD Bank, and Brooklyn Heights Pizza, of course, our new venue. Here's what's on the menu for tonight's show. We'll tell you a little bit about who we are and what this show is. We'll talk about changes and how the game broadcasts are offered this fall. Josh will do the season's first State of the Program update. We'll have a brief postmortem on 2020. We'll have a walk through the wonderful world of Willard. And then we'll bring on head coach Michael Quintero. Then we'll calibrate Josh for portions of a test we'll give to a group of player guests as the season goes on. And we'll end it with previewing Vandergrift with Coach Quintero. Come on. Hey, ain't no good unless you can hit the curve. You usually do. We're aware that every year the active Timberwolf fan base turns over by about a quarter. A quarter of last year's fans have graduated out the top of the program with their players, and a quarter of this year's fans just coming into the family from the middle school program. So a lot of you don't really know who we are. We're going to spend a few minutes here at the beginning of the season describing who Josh and I are and what this show is. I am Brad Cohn, C-O-N-E. Yeah, I've heard all the ice cream jokes before. 62 years old, Lanier High School class of 77, University of Texas class of 83, a Cedar Park resident since 1988, fairly recently retired from 38 years as an IT professional. I designed the first website of a Texas state government agency in 93 and then managed it until 2016. I started out at UT at the School of Journalism for the first 2.5 years. I worked on the Daily Texan newspaper. I was a cameraman for Austin City Limits. I worked in every role on campus television news broadcast, but it was while doing this that I came into knowledge that many of you have come into a bit more recently, and that is that our media in this nation is run mainly by personalities who see that function more as a way to force feed you their particular worldview than bringing you facts. And I didn't much care to hang around those people, even though I enjoyed performing the tasks of the profession. I changed majors, ended up with a degree in computer science, worked 7 years at Texas Instruments in mainframe computer operations, then 31 years at the Texas Education Agency as a systems analyst and web developer. In my brief sports coverage career at UT, I did get the first local interview with Earl Campbell After he returned from New York City, having won the Heisman, I corralled him as he stepped off the plane at Old Mueller Airport. I also drew the short straw during our 1978 Cotton Bowl coverage, and I had to interview the opposition quarterback after the game. Unfortunately, the number one ranked Horns lost that national championship game, and my interview was with the relatively unknown young Irish quarterback, Joe Montana. In high school, I played only 1 year of varsity football due to a knee injury and a doctor's resultant recommendation to pull back to less violent sports. So my junior and senior years, I played only basketball and baseball. I was a good shooter, but little other talent in basketball. I was a good hitter for average in baseball and excellent on defense as a middle infielder. I didn't play any of those sports well enough, nor have the size or speed required to play collegiately. Just prior to the day CPHS opened in '98, the original principal, Ron Lefevers, recruited me to be the football, basketball, and baseball stadium and arena announcers, and I'm still doing those jobs. Only difference being that I've moved from the stadium announcer to play-by-play broadcaster for baseball. I'm still the stadium voice of the GUP for home football games, hosting the pregame, halftime, and postgame shows on the broadcast for those games, while Josh here does the play-by-play. Any of our games not played at Gupton, I do play-by-play, and Josh does color. I have some other announcing gigs. I'm also the arena and stadium voice for Concordia University basketball and baseball. And from '09 through '14, I was the voice of the UIL State Women's Basketball Tournament at the Irwin Center. I've also worked some basketball, softball, and soccer games for St. Edwards. I've done play-by-play for arena football. I've done some stadium announcing for University of Texas softball. I've done play-by-play for other teams for KMAC and Vype deep into the football playoffs when Cedar Park was done earlier. But of all these various engagements, this is the one I cherish the most. If the sporting gods told me I had to give up all of these announcing and broadcasting gigs, but I could keep just one, that one would be Timberwolf football. Broadcasting Cedar Park football each week in the fall is the highlight of my year every year. Josh and I have gotten to meet and befriend so many good people through the years. I can barely go to H-E-B or out to eat around here without running into someone I know or have known in the past from Timberwolf football or baseball or basketball. We thank you all for having us do this very enjoyable and fulfilling job. Now you're just bragging.
I would be the Robin to your Batman. 28 years old, graduated from Cedar Park High School in 2011. So my 10-year anniversary is coming up this year, and very excited to see a lot of old faces and familiar faces. But my family originally came from North Carolina, Winston-Salem area, and my father had a Krispy Kreme franchise, so we moved out to Austin, Texas. We moved actually just off of Lakemont Boulevard by C.C. Mason, running Russian Middle School over in that area. And we ended up setting up camp there in 2000. And kind of ended up coming over into the Cedar Park district around '05. I ended up going to Cedar Park Middle School in 2004, 2005.
And I'm glad your dad did that, because otherwise you'd have gone to Leander.
That's right. And we don't want to be associated with the Leander Falls. Excuse my language. However, the Timberwolf blood is definitely thick in my family. I'm the youngest of three boys at that. And so all three of my two brothers and myself all went
Your poor mom.
I know. We all went through that Cedar Park football program, and we came through with the Coach Ross era. So Coach Ross coming down from his, Wichita?
Wichita Falls?
Wichita Falls, and that was around 04, 05.
5, yeah.
And so my oldest brother graduated in '08, my middle brother in 2010, and then I'm right behind him in 2011. And we are just Timberwolf football through and through. Started working out with Yancey Cole in 2008. When my middle brother, really had the desire to play college football after a great, phenomenal senior year as a Cedar Park Timberwolf, and he was kind of an H-back type of position. He ended up walking on at Baylor and forming a great relationship with Mark Riles, and now has become a head coach at Mount Vernon Tigers. But myself, I ended up playing slot for Cedar Park. Probably my claim to fame is King of Laces out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, Cole Cooper, you got to get out of here now. You're a senior, you graduated, it's done. I'm the guy on the mic now, still beating the drum, and I'm the best holder in Cedar Park history. And had a great run. My 2010 senior year went all the way to the quarterfinals, where we lost to Lake Travis by 1 point at DKR. Almost almost had the entire bottom half of DKR sold out for that ball game.
11 years ago, it's still too soon to talk about that.
Still way too soon. But my passion is definitely in broadcasting. I've been broadcasting ever since I graduated. Really, that 2012-2013 season, I came on and really started helping out with Mr. Cone, and just thoroughly enjoyed this process of each year getting a new crop of team members to analyze, go over, interview for these Timberwolf Night America episodes. And that's the thing. As I've graduated and gone on, the coaching staff has kind of been a revolving door now. But then also, these kids, you don't necessarily know them, recognize them anymore, but with our Timberwolf Night America episodes, we really get to dive deep with them, create a great relationship with them, so that when we're on the call on Friday night, I'm sorry if I scream into the microphone. I just get way too excited seeing these guys fly around, making good plays, committing and buying into the Timberwolf system. And that's what I want our Timberwolf family to know right now. We've got Coach Q, he's back at home, and this is staying in the family. I don't think y'all even overthink this. Coach Q is just amazing, and so happy that he's back here in the green and black, and so excited for this ball season. It's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun.
And in about 20 minutes, we'll get to talk with him extensively about coming home and Timberwolf football. And there's another name and voice that you'll hear on our broadcast on game nights, and that is Cecil Kokenauer. Various other commitments preclude his joining us Tuesday nights here on TNIA. For one, he's a baseball coach of both of his sons' select baseball teams. But Cecil's been this crew's technical producer and home game color commentator since 2012. We're very lucky to have him, as he has been and still is Vype's most talented technician in that production role, and his quick thinking and innovative solutions to various problems we faced have often been the reason that we were able to get a broadcast up and running in some of these many games over the 9 years that Cecil has been with us. And now let's talk about this show and what it is. K-Max Sports and Chuck Licata recruited me to do the broadcasting roles for football and baseball for Cedar Park in 2008. So 2021 is our 14th season to broadcast Timberwolf football, and this coming spring will be our 15th for Cedar Park baseball. Now, due to yet another role I have here, official statistician for the coaches, I got a lot of cool information that we can present during broadcast. Too much, as it turned out, for the few minutes we have on a pregame show. So we decided back in 2011 to start this Cedar Park football talk show thing on a weeknight so we could present some of this extra stuff and to also be able to get players and coaches on as guests, show them to their fan base. First 2 years we did it, we broadcast from my dining room table over there on Rhapsody Ridge in the ranch at Cypress Creek. Then for 2 seasons,
might I add, with the best charcuterie board? Is that how you say it?
Charcuterie, yeah.
Charcuterie. Oh,
yeah.
Mr. and Miss Cohn always put the best charcuterie board.
Now, after that, for 2 seasons, 13 and 14, we didn't do the show. 13 was the year the coach had dropped the deal. Josh and I tried a little fly-by-night way to get the games on. And when we first came back in 2014, it was a big web redesign time for me at work, and there were just extra hours required. I just frankly didn't have the time to put into doing TNIA. But we came back with it in 2015. Good thing, too, what with the undefeated state championship run and all that year. And we've been doing it ever since. We're at a now defunct burger joint over near Buttercup and 183 in 15 and 16. Over at Mouton's in 17. Split between Mouton's and Majori's in 18. Then at Mag's exclusively for 19 and 20. And now, for the first time, here at Brooklyn Heights Pizza. We believe that when we started out in 2011, there may have been one other high school program in Texas with their own dedicated weekly talk show. Now, I've heard of many others, so we're the trendsetters, John.
Well, we're definitely the trendsetters, and just want to shout out to Miss McAnally for letting me know that my mic was dead. You know, I'm switching to the handheld so that everybody can hear me clearly now. But just what a ride that this Timberwolf Night in America show has been. Going from your studios in your living room and having your granddaughter, Miss Harper, walk up and down the stairs and just kind of peek in on us. And it was just
She's in 5th grade now.
That's amazing. That's unbelievable. And just those times, having the teams come into your house and just get to know the squad really well, really fine-tuned this show for when we went to Mouton's, we went to Majori's. We really have a great show. We really enjoy having a bunch of guests come out. We got a bunch of the players here tonight. We got Josh Pell, Jake McAnally, Cole Valiente, Cody Marshall.
Yeah.
Little Valiente, he's only a freshman, and he's big.
He's not that little.
He's not that little. But we're just very fortunate with where this show has gone. Mr. Cohn has done a lot of hard work in making sure that this show flies seamlessly. And so it's a joy to do this with Brad because he is the extreme statistician. And I can guarantee you that we're going to have a very fluid show by the way that he prepares and makes this fly. So it's a joy to be here with Mr. Cohn. And good Lord, we've been doing this a while. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Josh, we found out your mic's dead. I think what we'll do, let's go ahead and pull your mic out of here and go ahead and put the spots in, and we'll tune it when the spots come on. I know you won't be able to hear them, but or maybe you can still hear.
I can still hear.
Still hear. Okay. We'll figure out how to get the sound right for that. All right. Sorry about that little digression, folks. Now, something a little different about the live game broadcast this year. The Vype Live Network has entered into a partnership with an outfit called Flow Sports, FLO. They'll carry the video signal this year. There's good news and bad news about the finances for this. The good news is that the Booster Club, bless their hearts, who with the help of sponsors has been shelling out anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 per season to get our games on the air, will no longer be charged anything for the service. But the bad news is that you will be. Flow Sports has a pay-per-view business model. You'll go to their site before the season starts. In the next couple of days, you need to do this. And you can choose one of two plans, by the month or by the year. In each case, once you pay, you'll get a login ID and a password, and for the length of time you paid for, a month or a year, you can watch anything and everything on the Flow Sports site, not just our own football games. We're going to have rivals who are out there, too. You can watch their games if you want to scout them. I might recommend the year-long plan because Vype Live is going to be pumping Cedar Park football through Flow Sports in the fall with Josh and Cecil and me, the state champion women's basketball team in the winter with Mike Rose, and I'll be back with Timberwolf baseball in the spring. And the basketball and baseball booster clubs will also no longer have to outlay cash for their broadcast either. That website is flowsports.tv, FLOSPORTS.TV. Go there soon. Sign up for your payment option, either for a month or a year. Flow Sports TV. Now, it's normally $29.95 for the 1 month option, but at their site, if you sign up through their football section, it drops down to only $19.99. Again, that's the monthly option. For a year, it's $150, which works out to about $12.50 a month over time. But, of course, that's more up front. Again, the site is flowsports.tv, FLOSPORTS.TV. This pay-per-view arrangement for the game broadcast with Flow Sports does not come into effect with this show, Timberwolf Night in America. Just like you have tonight, you'll still go to VypeLive.com, click on Talk Shows, and right under that is a link to the current Timberwolf Night in America show. And as the season goes on, scrolling down on that same page will get you to earlier shows. You'll be able to find the whole season there eventually. Also, just like last year, due to the COVID situation, the UIL has rescinded its general order that prohibits the video component of live broadcasts of Friday night games. We've always been able to provide you live video for games played at any other time, like Thursday night or Saturday or even during the day on Fridays. But Friday night live video has always been prohibited. That was rescinded last year, and it will be again this year. So many of you who can't or don't want to come to the games can still see the Timberwolves play live on our broadcast this year. We are so happy to have that restriction lifted again for this season. And now here's Josh with our first 2021 State of the Program update.
And this is how Batman and Robin get better, because over here on my script, I've got a couple words. So I'm going to read off of Mr. Cohn's. The all-time record for Cedar Park football is now 202-71.
Good Lord.
They are 105-31 in district games, 54-27 in regular season non-district games, and a whopping 41-14 in the playoffs.
That's astounding.
Come on, find me a team. I'll wait.
Yeah.
This program is now 37-7 against all other Leander ISD teams, 95-26 at home all time. Oh my goodness. So that's the Bible and the Cup.
Yep.
107-45 away from home, and this is amazing. 61-4 at the Cup.
Good God.
I know my 2010 team didn't have a loss at that stadium, so it's not on us. The Cedar Park's record against the top 10 teams are 25-14. Their record while playing as a top 10 ranked team is 92-15.
Good golly.
And we're preseason top 10. And the record while playing as the number 1 ranked team, we're 21-1.
Oh, do you remember that one in Abilene?
Oh.
Too soon for that.
What a long bus ride.
Yeah.
And that was off of a game-winning field goal, I believe?
Yeah.
Oh.
Last play of the game.
Lorenzo Joe.
Yeah.
What an era. The program has won 12 district championships in 22 years of UIL competition, including 8 in the last 9 years. They've made it to the regional finals 7 times, won 4 regional titles, have never lost a state semifinal game, and have played in 4 state championship games, winning 2 of them. This is a program that knows how to get it done.
Good gosh, they really, really do. Because all that success is spread out over 3 different coaches. Now a 4th is going to chip in. Chris Ross and Joe Willis and Carl Absek steered that ship through all that. And, here we go again.
This is so exciting. I've been chomping at the bit to get to football season. I know my wife has been begging me to get back to football season, so I have someone to talk to.
Now we're going to do a brief post-mortem on 2020, as we do every year on the first show. Take one last look back at the previous year. Now those 2020 Timberwolves are in the running for being our best team ever. Scores and stats and game narratives, it sounded like hyperbole. I'd tell friends of mine, how many touchdowns right through, how many yards we had, what the margin was, and they'd think I was lying. It was that amazing. It started in the preseason scrimmage with a portentous manhandling of Westlake, a team that would then go undefeated to win the 6A state title. That kicked off a fantastic unbeaten run for the Timberwolves to our program's 4th state championship game, a campaign in which the average margin of victory was 36 points, far larger than any previous Cedar Park team. And in district games, it was even higher, 49. In the playoffs, 37. Ryder Hernandez was the first-team 5A All-State quarterback, throwing 72 scoring passes to only 4 INTs. He completely rewrote the Cedar Park record book for passing, both in a season and over a career. He threw to 4 guys who have ended up at the top of the Cedar Park record categories for receivers. Jack Hystera, Gunnar Absek, Josh Cameron, and Preston Scott. The team fought COVID, losing 2 games off the schedule due to operational considerations from the pandemic. They went over a month from October 24th to December 4th with only 2 games played. And they won those 2 games by a combined 127-21. They ended up playing nearly as many playoff games as regular season games. There were 2 stunning postseason comebacks when it looked like they might be dead against both Manvel and Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial that turned into amazing victories. But the magic never happened in Arlington, and it's difficult to contemplate that this amazing team and this superlative program ended up suffering the worst defeat in program history, 45 points in the state championship game against Denton Ryan, who should probably join the SEC. Events prove that they're a far better team than the 6A state champ, Westlake. And so that's part of what spurs this year's team on to carve off their own slice of excellence.
And that's what I think I give my 2010 team credit to. Anytime I have an opportunity to pay homage to my brothers, I'm going to do it, Brad.
Do it.
And I'm telling you, we went to the quarterfinals with our 2nd and 3rd string quarterback as Brian Hogan tore his ACL going into halftime against Smithson Valley in the 2nd round at Texas State Stadium. When the coaches are clapping their hands on the offensive side and the coach Ross Arrow, that was run the same play again, and Brian Hogan didn't hesitate. He ran the same play with a torn ACL. But we ended up losing that year in the quarterfinals with a very loaded team.
You're going to go there again? You're going to go there again?
But the thing is that we didn't win it. The guys after us won that championship.
Right.
They saw our dedication, our work ethic, our togetherness, and it really paved the way for what was to come at Cedar Park and laying the framework of a championship mentality. And that's what I got to give credit to this last year's seniors. Those guys laid it all out on the floor, all out on the field. And for you to mention that, Brad, from, what was it, the October range to December 4th to only play 2 games?
Yeah.
That is
in about 5 weeks.
Oh, from my wedding to December 4th, they only played 2 games, not 2 weddings.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely amazing for them to still stay focused, stay ready to make a great playoff push that it really took an entire team to get through. That Manville game, I mean, that was one for the ages. On New Year's Day over in Bryan, just a great game that came down to who had more grit. And our Cedar Park Timberwolves did, and just what a phenomenal season to get all the way to the show. So proud of those Timberwolves and everything that they accomplished, because they gave these guys a sour taste of not winning that big one. And that's just going to be the motivating drive force in this year's senior class in finishing the job. I'm so excited for this team to run it back.
All right. And now, something we do every week. We're off to see the Willard. the wonderful Willard of Oz. Here we go on a fascinating voyage through the wonderful world of Willard.
Oh, it feels so good to be doing the wonderful world of Willard again. Brad, shout out to Nate Coop for making this amazing Wizard of Oz beat, especially for me. Definitely go give him a shout out, Mr. Nate Coop. But Brad, just getting into the nitty-gritty of football season. I'm so glad that football is back because we got a lot to look forward to, especially this week 1 matchup of all the college football games that are about to take place. I think we've got UCLA and Hawaii. We've got Northeastern, Western, Southern, Central playing Utah. We got a lot of slack games starting off this season, and that's okay because OU and Texas have given us something to look forward to. We are starting to form super conferences in the college football realm, and that's going to just make sure that these week 1 matchups, that's not going to happen anymore. I guarantee that we're going to have some great matchups coming into this college football season whenever we get the merger going. I just love the way the direction the college football is going, and I think I can. What was was it the Lone Star Conference, the old conference? What are we talking about with Texas?
Oh, the Southwest Conference.
Southwest Conference. I've always heard whenever we moved to Texas about college football, oh, the Southwest Conference, the Blue Bonnet Bowl, everything was going on in that era. Well, now it's going to be fun to pass that down to my children. Do you remember the Big 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
My brother playing for Baylor has a bunch of Baylor championship rings, Big 12 rings, bowl rings. I think he has more rings from Baylor than he does his wife, actually.
Those are going to be anachronisms pretty soon.
It's going to be amazing to see, and also just wanted to touch light on Sam Ehlinger. Just wanted to kind of reiterate the summer that he's kind of gone through losing his brother while going through the NFL draft, and then just kind of the way the stars are aligning for him with Carson Wentz going down with an injury. There might be an opportunity for Sam Ehlinger to get in there and show what he can do, and I truly think that he's a pro's pro. He understands the game, and he takes it very seriously. So I do hope that Sam Ehlinger gets a shot in Indianapolis just because of what an early adulthood that this man has had to go through. I just can't even imagine losing your brother, your best friend who you were playing college football with, and just to have an opportunity to play in the NFL. I really hope that works out for him. And then also just going over to Trevor Lawrence. Interesting that he's going to be the number 1 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars in his high school career. Trevor Lawrence, how many games did he lose from his freshman to senior year?
None, right?
It was 2.
Oh, 2.
But he started as a quarterback as a freshman on the varsity team, so losing 2 games in 4 years, it's amazing. Guess how many games he lost in Clemson?
2.
2. He only lost 2 games as a Clemson quarterback. We're not going to count that Notre Dame game when he wasn't in because of COVID protocols. We're not going to count that against him. So Trevor Lawrence, only 4 losses in his career, and he's going to start for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, they could use that kind of winning tradition.
He's going to pass that loss column in the middle of September.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing to see how Urban Meyer, who was just only excellence, everything is excellent, how are you going to handle losses? And it's going to be a very interesting relationship to watch in Jacksonville.
Introduction to how the other half lives.
That's right. I'm super excited for that. And then finally, just so we can get out of our wonderful world of Willard, my favorite thing that I like to do is called Stupid Is as Stupid Does, because there's just a lot of stupidity out there in the world, and I've got to give it to Mr. Justin Fields. He is the number 1 draft pick for the Chicago Bears. He's actually got a free agent playing in front of him right now, Andy Dalton, and Coach Nagy of the Chicago Bears said that Andy Dalton is our guy going into Week 1. And then Justin Fields, after an amazing preseason game, had this to say, and I want you to take a listen, Mr. Brad. Oh, so it slowed the game up for you, Mr. Fields. Well, The very next week, they hosted the Buffalo Bills in the return of Mitch Trubisky. and this happened.
And folks, you should have seen the hit. It looked like a special effect.
Yeah, Justin Fields looking to his left, gets some pressure right off of the right side of the offensive line, not even looking that way, and just gets absolutely manhandled. And Justin Fields, if you make a statement like that in your post-game interview, well, I'm sorry, you're going to get featured.
Yeah, it didn't look too slow. I mean, that defensive end didn't look all that slow. All right. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, our guest tonight, the new sheriff in town, head coach Michael Quintero. Stick around. You're listening to Timberwolf Night in America live from Brooklyn Heights Pizza. Easy for you to say right here on the Vype Live Network.
Officiating is a terrific way to stay in shape, meet new people, and stay connected to the game you love. But the biggest reason of all, we need more qualified high school officials here in Texas. And without them, the rest of us would have a whole lot less to cheer about. High school games need officials. High school sports need you. Interested in becoming a licensed high school official? Go to highschoolofficials.com to learn more and begin the application process.
Vype Live, the leader in high school sports broadcasts. Wait, hold on just a moment. It's true that Vype Live, formerly KMAX Sports, excels at high school sports broadcasts. But did you know that Vype Live does more than sports? Vype Live does band recitals, academic events. For more information on how Vype Live can broadcast your event, email us at Vype, VYPE.com.
You know the Alzer family. They've been involved in Cedar Park sports for years, just as Alzer's Barbecue has been involved in Cedar Park cuisine for years. It's one-of-a-kind, authentic Texas barbecue. Brisket, turkey, chicken, lamb, terrific sides and sauces. It's sheer succulence. That's Alzer's Barbecue, next to the Shell Station on 1431, just east of Lakeline. Open Friday through Sunday, every weekend.
Dun 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 dun. How. All right, welcome back. Episode 1, Timberwolf Night in America for 2021, live from Brooklyn Heights Pizza here in the 613. I'm Brad Cohn, joined by Josh Willard, Josh Cargile, our QA tonight here on the Vype Live Network. We are kicking off our 2021 coverage of Cedar Park Timberwolf football. And now, our special guest tonight. No stranger to Cedar Park football is he, a terrific defensive coach for several years here. In fact, he's the man who invented the nickname the Black Rain. And he's come back home after stints at Colleyville Heritage and Red Oak. Our new head coach of the Timberwolves, Michael Quintero.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate you having me here and excited to be here.
Thanks for being here and welcome home, right?
Yeah, it is. I tell you what, that's what I was telling my wife when I had this conversation, and it just feels like a homecoming. I was here for so long, and since I've been here, I've had a bunch of guys that I've used to coach that have come up to the school, so it makes it a lot more special.
That's
seeing
great.
those guys and actually growing up, having kids, and married, and just doing great things. So it's good to be back.
Now, you came in the Chris Ross regime, I think, in his third year, 2007. Was that your first season?
2006 was my first year. Yeah,
so that was
actually,
his second year then.
Yeah, his second year. I stayed one more year at Wichita Falls High, and then ended up coming here the next year.
So how long were you with Chris in Wichita Falls?
I was with Chris for 2 years in Wichita.
And then a third year without him, and then here.
Yes, sir.
And then you went, well, I guess, when Joe went, right? Is that when you went after Joe Willis left? Is that?
To
to Colleyville Heritage?
Yeah, I went with Joe to Colleyville Heritage in spring of 15.
Spring of 15.
Actually, it wasn't a spring. It was a spring 15. Yeah.
So you've been involved in 2 state championship games. Half of our wins, half of our losses. A win in 12, a loss in 14.
It rubs me wrong.
Oh, I know that 14.
Yeah, the 14 game was that one weighs on me. You remember the losses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, especially those games. But yeah, I mean we've had some really good teams roll through here.
So that hurts me more as a loss than getting sand pounded up your arse like we had last year in the state title game, because we were never in it. They're just a lot better than us. Okay, that'll happen. We had that one won, and we lost it with 38 seconds left on that long pass.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the kids, I tell you what, that year was pretty special. I mean, there was a lot of things that we had to overcome to get there, and I'm telling you what, that was probably one of the hardest fighting teams that I've ever coached. And to go out that way, I mean, we've been on both sides of the spectrum, and if you don't win at all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it just
something about it. Yeah.
And that's just, I think that's the nature of coaching and being a coach. And
I think it's interesting that your last game coaching with the Timberwolves was a state championship game loss. These guys' last game as Timberwolves was a state championship game loss. There's a symbiosis there, a shared spark, a shared drive, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, talking to this group that we have right now, being so close this last year, and obviously you can't dwell necessarily on the past because this isn't the same team. But I tell you what, this group is motivated to win. They really want to finish what was started last year and where they I guess you could say fell short. I don't think that way, but they want to finish it right. They want to finish it for those guys from last year. So this is a pretty motivated bunch. Good leadership on our team, and they're working extremely hard.
I got to chime in here because I'm going to beat the Coach Q drum to anybody, because whenever we played back with those early, Chris Ross teams, you were always the first one out there getting us going in those morning practices and really pushing that tempo. Where did you find the passion for football? Who sparked that passion in you?
That's a great question. This is something I've talked to our leadership council about yesterday, as a matter of fact. When I was in high school, I had no ambition to be a coach. It was not even on my radar. I didn't grow up just being the greatest person in the world. I got in a lot of trouble, and I had one coach that really believed, and he saw something in me, and I still talk to this man today. He was my old coach in high school, and there was a lot of guys that were ready to cut me loose because of my attitude and the things that I did growing up, and this guy just believed in me. I don't know why. He tells me this day, I just don't believe. I'm like, I didn't see that. I just can't see myself the way you saw me. And so I had a choice in college to kind of go alternate. I was going to go to law school, and I had a semester layover, and I got a lot of the guys I played football with. I asked them, I go, what are y'all going to do this semester? We're going to go start working on our master's in education. I said, why? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a teacher? And it's like, well, we want to be coaches. And I said, So I started taking some educational classes, got put in my old high school, and I've never looked back. I mean, it just fit me.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Amarillo High School.
Oh.
Blow, sand, blow. Blow, sand, blow.
Blow, sand, blow. And where'd you go to college?
I went to West Texas A&M. Go Buffs.
Right south of there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They got a new stadium there, I think.
It's a lot better looking than when I was there, I'm telling you. But it's come a long way. But
what position did you play in high school and in college?
I was a pulling guard. As a matter of fact, I was an undersized pulling guard.
My dad was an undersized guard.
I mean, that's really what it was, man. I had to work extra hard in the weight room to pull my weight, man. I'm telling you. But
let's bring our fan base up to date on where you've been since you left. A few years at Colleyville Heritage, Joe, then the Red Oak, and then here. So tell us about what you're doing, what's going on with Joe and Colleyville, and with your team at Red Oak.
I tell you what, probably the last 7 years have been unbelievable as far as learning moments for coaching. We went to Colleyville, and being able to have Coach Willis mentor me on being an assistant head coach, and doing those things and learning how to develop a new program, a program that's, I wouldn't say necessarily beaten down, but that it needed some extra love, and how the operations and turning programs around happen. I really learned a lot at Colleyville. Great community, a lot like here. Great kids that I still talk to today. And then when Coach Ross had called and gave me the opportunity to be his assistant head coach at Red Oak, I'll be real honest with you. The last time I saw Red Oak was we were in 2014 when they beat Ennis. And I was looking, I'm like, how is this team not in the state championship game? Because they were a lot better. And going back to Red Oak, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're really going to Red Oak. And went there and having to turn that program around was an absolute great experience for me. Coach Ross just mentoring me to be a head coach. He thought my time was now, and so I'm forever grateful for that.
That's amazing. So, were you defensive coordinator? What were you at Red?
No, I was assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. I said I want to learn how to be a head coach. I want to learn the ins and outs of the things that I don't know about being a head coach. And I got to work side by side with Coach Ross, and I'm just telling you, he taught me so much in the 2 years that he was there. It was invaluable. He's taught me a lot since the day I met him. But him and Coach Willis, I'm telling you, I've never worked for a bad head coach. Never. It's starting from when I first started coaching in Groover, Texas, in the Panhandle, to where I am now. I've had such a great experience coaching that, and a lot of guys don't get that. But I'm telling you, I've learned how to love kids, man. That's for sure.
So, Groover was your first job. What year was that, and where were you between Groover and Wichita Falls?
Oh gosh, man, I was 2000. I went to Groover, Texas, and it's a 1A high school. And when they literally say there's one Blinken light in town, that's what Groover had. It was a culture shock for me. But I learned a lot about the farming culture and coaching both sides of the football. Learned how to stripe fields and mow the lawn. And do laundry and tape ankles, man. That's something that I never thought I'd have to do, and I learned it in college because you have to, but I actually had to put that to work. From there, I got a call from Coach Parr, Steve Parr, who was a longtime coach at Plainview, Texas. Played in some semifinal games, got beat by Stephenville back when Brawls was there.
Oh.
And had really good teams, and they battled it out, but he called me up and got an O-line job with him, and I'll tell you what, that guy taught me how to work hard. He taught me how to grind. And I still talk to him today. Again, another great mentor of mine. So,
tell us about how the nickname that you came up with for our defense, the Black Rain, how that came about.
That's a funny story. Well, I think we had just come off the Lake Travis game. I think we ended up getting beat 50-something to, I want to say it was like 3, or it was something like, it was bad.
That was like 2008?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I still remember that. It taught us a lesson on our identity, and Coach Willis was the DC at the time, and I was a defensive line coach, and we go into the defensive meeting, and Coach Willis he's not getting on to him, but you know how stern he is when he's talking. He's that business. He tells our problem right now is we don't have anything to hang our hat on, and the kids are like, what do you mean? They didn't understand. He said we got to have an identity that we represent every day in practice, every game we play. It's got to be something we're hanging our hat on. And I can't remember what linebacker it was. One of his linebackers. It might have been Dean. It's one of the younger guys. So, Coach, I don't understand exactly what you're asking. I said, you got to have like a mantra, like Black Rain. And I spelt it. I put it on the board, and I spelt it R-E-I-G-N.
I like that.
Rain. And so the kids were like, yeah, okay. So Coach goes, I'm going to give y'all 10 minutes, man. I want y'all to defensive captains, I want y'all to talk about it, see what we can come up with. So we go outside, and Coach Willis looks at me. He's like, man, I don't think they understood what I was saying. He goes, this ought to be interesting. So we walk in after about 10 or 15 minutes. We walk in, and Coach Willis goes, all right, what are we hanging our hat on? What's going to represent? What are we going to do to represent this team? And the kids stood up, and they go, we kind of like Black Rain. And he looked at me and goes, you got to be kidding me. But they wanted to spell it R-A-I-N.
Yeah.
And they said, it's like a storm, man. We want to be like we want to be a violent storm or whatever. And I was like, all right, man, whatever works.
That's right.
Whatever gets the people going, and it did. It's so funny that it's lasted this long. That really says something to the program.
It does.
Testament to you.
So Well, I tell you what, there is a lot of work that went into that. I'm just telling you, but it's cool to see the kids still doing the same chants. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I was going to change our flex up, our stretch in the mornings, and the captains came to me and they were like, "Coach, we want to go back to our old stretch because we don't get to do our chants." And I was like, "What chants are you doing?" And they're doing the Bon Appetit, Let's Eat. And I was like, "Come on, man, are you kidding me?" Yeah, man, it was great, man. Just that the tradition is still there.
It is. I've got somebody in the Booster Club a couple years ago made for me a recording that I'll play kind of right before kickoff at the home games at the GUP, and it starts with these air raid warning sirens, like there's bad weather coming. People will look around, and then you got this kind of computerized voice of a woman, like you'd hear on a warning on cable TV, saying something like, "Warning, black rain is imminent. Opposing offenses should seek shelter before the coming storm. Black rain is imminent."
That's cool. That's awesome.
People seem to love it.
I know Coach Cochran, back in the day when he was coaching over here, he'd always send us a text out saying, "Hey, Timberwolves are playing on. There's 100% chance of black rain."
That's right. We use that one too.
It's just a tradition, man. It's fun, man. That's what makes what we do so much fun.
Well, it's good to have you back. It's good. Carl left kind of unexpected. We thought probably he'd be here till he died.
It's a hard place to leave.
Yeah, and he just got a great offer. I don't blame him. And we were wondering, oh gosh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And when we heard Michael Quintero, it's somebody we know. It's somebody in the family.
Yeah.
He knows what goes on here. This is going to be okay. And it really took a lot of worries out of fans' heads to know that somebody with your background with this program and this community is coming to take the helm of the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I tell you, just talking to the kids when I came here, because I know there was a lot of worry. Because I'll be real honest with you, I wasn't looking to leave Red Oak. I really had a home there.
First year as a head
Great
coach,
place.
you all did great. What, 9-2, something like that?
Yeah, went to the quarterfinals and played a close game and had a chance to win. And leaving there was hard, but I knew what I was getting here. I told everybody that I knew what I was getting here, and it was hard to leave the first time. And I thought this, and my wife and I had this conversation about when we first got married. She was asking everywhere that I coached, and I said my last place was in Austin. She goes, "Would you ever go back to Austin?" I said there'd be one job I'd go back for, and she asked me what school, and I said Cedar Park. So it's funny how it worked out.
Yeah.
But we really feel like the timing was great. With my wife's job and everything, so it just really everything was a smooth transition. So.
Well, it's good to have you back. Good to have you here. Good to have knowledge of the program community, like I said with you. Good to know that there's long-term fans like us who remember you, and it's a good symbiosis, I think. Josh, you have anything? We're having to pass mics back and forth.
We're having to pass mic, and we're going to get it figured out for next week. But it really is just so exciting to have your homecoming, because the relationship you had with my parents and being involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and how much time you really dedicated to me and my brothers. We consider y'all family, and so it's so exciting to have you here in this moment, because this crop of seniors that you got right now, they have unreal work ethic. They will buy into anything, but it's because of what you guys did when you were here 10 years ago, and brainwashing us and making us buy in and believe, and just, dang, you know what? I do spend more time at the football field house than with my parents. These coaches, these are family, and so I'm really excited for this opportunity for you, because it's your time, and I'm just excited for you to be here. I'm excited to be in the front row watching everything, and you got the most support. Everybody is so excited for this moment.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, these guys, we're talking about the details right now. Our big deal this week is what's an inch worth in the things that you do, in your stance, in your hand placement, your eyes, and just talking about just being detailed in everything you do. Care. What caring means is caring about the details and being the best you can be. And if you do that, everything else will work out for itself, And that's what these guys are doing. They're working hard. They got great attitudes. and we grind. I mean, the grind hasn't changed. I mean, we spend a lot of time up there, and you got to be. And I told him you have to be different to play football here. You're different than everybody else.
Yancey Culp, as you know, has been part of this program since back in the days when you were there, and he's been here the whole time you were gone, still there doing what he does for this program, conditioning and so forth. And he was telling me on the sidelines the other night at that Westlake scrimmage that I was asking, so how are things looking? How's the team doing? And he says, if anything, their intensity, their work ethic is better than it's ever been. He says, we're getting bigger numbers for the camps, bigger numbers for running hills, bigger numbers in the weight rooms than we ever had.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
It's funny because Yancey would shoot me a text and he said, hey, do you mind if I'm continuing to do the workouts? I'm like, you don't have to ask me, man. You don't have to ask me that. You're part. Like you're saying, it's part of the family, and it sounds really cliche, but man, Yancey, you don't have to ask me. You're the one guy outside this program that I trust to work our kids out, because I know your dedication to the program, what you've done for our kids in the past, what you're doing for them now. And he has such great intentions with what he does for our kids.
And they trust him.
And coaches trust him. Because I had new coaches that I brought in from Red Oak. They were like, well, who is this guy, man? Are you sure you want? Absolutely. Absolutely I do. And once they got to see him, meet him, it's like, all right, man, this dude, he's all about Cedar Park football, man. And I said, this is the guy I wanted all the guys to meet, because we rely on him so heavily, in the off season.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is. We can work out in the period for school, but if you're not doing it 7 days a week, man, you're falling behind somebody.
I would say getting into parenthood now, Coach Q, now that I have a daughter, it's funny how she never listens to me, but she'll listen to Lolly and Pops, my parents, all day long. We were getting beat like a drum, tempo from you guys. But then we would go do a 5-hour workout on Saturday with Yancey and not think twice, because it was competition. We're competing against each other, and it's just kind of having that second frame or that other mindset of just kind of displaying it to you is really just kind of, I don't know, just very, very fortunate for the Cedar Park program to have, because he really is such a good, reliable resource.
It's funny that you say it, because as much time as you guys have spent up there and these guys are spent up there, we're like their parents, and it's like any other kid. Parents are going to criticize and correct you and hold you to that standard. Not to say that Yancey does. My point is we're the parent, and they're hearing us all the time, and sometimes they need that outside to give them a little bit of reality and say, look, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's what it is. It's just that extra support where the kids, they need to hear it from somebody else. It's like I tell them, I can sit here and gripe all day long and correct you, but as a leader on our team, they need to hear you, because they are going to listen. As long as you're a doer and you're talking, they're going to walk with your talk, and that's what leadership is for me. And what I want with this group, so that's why I call it the standard. Y'all see me?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Hashtagging is the standard. To me, Cedar Park athletics, Cedar Park education, Cedar Park fine arts, it's the standard in this area. It's one of the standards in the state, in my opinion. Everything our kids do is at a high competitive level, whether it's in the classroom or on the field or on the court. That's just, I honestly believe that. So
I had a line I used with my kids when they're kind of not trusting that Dad knows what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
And it went like this. I said, one of these days you're going to say one of two things. Dad, you were right all along, and I'm glad I listened. Or, Dad, you were right all along, and I wish I'd listened.
Yes, yeah. I know that for a fact. I've lived that. It's like the coaches that have coached me. I'm like, man, I wish I'd have just listened to him a little bit more. That's why I tell the kids all the time. I said, look, man, I'm a yeller. I'm going to be loud. But at some point, you're going to have to listen to what I'm saying and not the tone that I'm saying it at. Because if I'm loud, it's urgent. But listen to the words, not the tone.
I'm yelling so you can all hear me. If I just talk, these back 52 of you aren't going to hear me.
Yeah, I told him, I said, man, my grease is always hot, man. My grease is always hot. So you just going to have to get used to it.
All right, we've been talking with Michael Quintero, our new head coach here at Cedar Park. We're going to take another short break. When we return, more nonstop honking at the Cedar Park football horn with Coach Quintero right here from Brooklyn Heights Pizza on Timberwolf Night in America. This is the Vype Live Network.
You know the Alzer family. They've been involved in Cedar Park sports for years, just as Alzer's Barbecue has been involved in Cedar Park cuisine for years. It's one-of-a-kind, authentic Texas barbecue. Brisket, turkey, chicken, lamb, terrific sides and sauces. It's sheer succulence. That's Alzer's Barbecue, next to the Shell Station on 1431, just east of Lakeline. Open Friday through Sunday, every weekend.
All right, Josh has informed me we're not exactly sure that our commercials are going out. We got new equipment, new soundboard that we've never used before. We actually have already ascertained from our technical support staff at Vype that we're going to get the same board we had these last several years after tonight. So technical problems should go away. Welcome back, episode 1 of Timberwolf Night in America for 2020, live from Brooklyn Heights Pizza. I'm Brad Cohn. He's Josh Willard. Josh Cargile, our QA tonight here on the Vype Live Network, bringing you all the stuff from right here in the heart of the 613, talking with our first guest of the season, head coach Michael Quintero. And as you all know, and those of you who haven't been part of the family before, each week we bring in another set of position players and their coaches. One week will be the linesmen and the line coaches. Next week, maybe it's the linebackers, and wide receivers. We'll do that all through the season after tonight's stint with Michael Quintero. Now, before we get back into that conversation with him, I want to take a quick run through the season schedule. It's a bit different than last year's, not just because of the on-time start this season, but also because COVID took 2 games from us last year, and we were left with a non-standard 8-game regular season. Of course, this Friday, August 27th, at Vandergrift. September 3rd, a week later, Cedar Ridge at home. Then September 10th, Round Rock at home, and that is homecoming. Those 3 teams are picked to finish 1, 2, 3 in their 6A district. I love it. We'll talk about that with Coach Q, too. I love the fact that we schedule exclusively 6A teams and exclusively good 6A teams in non-district. There's no better way to get good than to lift heavy weights. Then we've got a bye Friday, September 17th, so the Tuesday before that, this show will have a bye as well. Then Friday the 24th of September, we're at Georgetown to kick off district play. The next Friday, home for Hendrickson. The next Thursday, we're at Nelson Field to play the Anderson Trojans. I played at Nelson Field, and it wasn't good then. The press box is kind of like an old Soviet hospital from 1968. It's an awful facility.
Way to set the aesthetics.
Yeah. And then the next Friday, Leander at home. Then another Thursday game, 2 Thursday games in 3 weeks. We are at Pflugerville at the Field to play the Panthers. And then Friday the 29th of October, home for Weiss. They look like they might be, and we'll talk about this with Coach Sue, the other really good team in our district. A lot might be at stake on Friday, October 29th. At the Gup. That game was canceled because of COVID last year, so we've never played them. And then we end the regular season Friday the 5th of November at Manor. They always are a very athletic team, very intensely coached, and that'll be a good way to get into the playoffs. So, Coach, you look at that schedule. Let's talk about it. We might check back, and I think it was like 2000. I don't even know when it was the last time we played a non-6A team in non-district outside of the 2 games against Aledo up at Baylor in 14 and 15, where they're the defending state champs, so that hardly counts. I love that idea of doing it that way.
Yeah, I tell you, I told Coach Absig, I was like, thanks a lot, man. No, I mean, we had pretty much the same schedule from where I'm coming from anyway. I think that, the caliber of play that our program has had, you got to play teams like that. If you want to make deep runs, you got to accustom the kids quick, because it's going to do one of 2 things. You're going to get a false sense of hope, or it's going to be a reality check. And so, I need it to be a reality. Look, this is where, if you want to be the best, and you're going to have to play some of these guys. And we starting that off of Vandergrift. That's always, big rivalry game. It's going to be packed, and it's going to give you that playoff atmosphere, which is invaluable for our kids. Especially playing 3 games like that going into a district that we play in. So it's a great warm up. We just got to stay healthy and make sure that we come out on the right end of the spectrum.
You just, the program found out years ago, you just don't get any better playing Harker Heights, and Taylor, and San Marcos. Not to cut those teams down. I don't mean that at all. Just that they weren't and aren't in our league, and you go 3-0 there and still end up 3-7.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you anything about yourself.
I tell you, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, not to say, but when I looked at the predictions and saw 1, 2, 3, I said, oh man. And we're playing them about that order. So, but it's a testament to the program. I mean, for us to get where we want to be, we've got to test ourselves early. And like I said, it's going to help us evaluate where we're at and maybe some changes that we need to make. And I think it helps coaching too, because good teams like that are gonna show things.
Yes.
They're going to exploit things that you may not be real strong at, that you need to work on. So
I love it. Now, a brief programming note, we call this a Tuesday night show, and it usually will be, but as we get late in the season, we may change occasionally to a Monday or Wednesday when I have basketball duties with the state champs. And before we get back to Coach, here are the other games for teams in our district, 11-5A, during this opening week. Weiss will host Harker Heights. I think I just mentioned them a moment ago. Hendrickson opens on the road at tough 6A Cibolo Steel. Georgetown will host Belton. Leander faces Glenn in one of the 3 battles for Bible. Pflugerville on the road at Laredo United. Anderson faces longtime rival McCallum, and Manor on the road at LBJ. And Coach, you talk about finding out when you play these tougher teams what you need to work on. We found out a couple of things Friday night against Westlake.
Oh yeah, I mean, I tell you what a great test to start the season off. When you're playing a quarterback like they have, it really opens your eyes to things about coverage, the things that you got to do to take care of a quarterback like that. I thought that the kids did great. I mean, we had opportunities in space where we had them dead to rights, and we just bad angles and tackling, little things like that. Teams that can execute quickly, and he did. He got rid of the ball quick. I was really proud of our D-line because I thought they held up for most of the scrimmage. But you're talking about that's one of the biggest offensive lines I've seen in a long time.
Man.
Oh, man. But I tell you what, you going back, it's never as bad as you seem. When you go back and watch film, I was really, really surprised talking to the coordinators and the coaches. We saw some really good things. Number one, we saw fight for the whole time, for the 4.5 hours that we scrimmaged. And I'm just telling you, they were platooning a lot. And we had guys that were doing a lot of work. And it's like I've told them up to that point, we're in a lot better shape than you think you are. Okay, there's got to be a point where you can overcome some of that adversity, and I really thought the kids did that.
The timed quarter went a lot better than the rest
lot
of
better.
Yeah.
When you tend to get into the control part of the scrimmage, your tempo slows. Coaches are coaching, and I think once we got into the live quarter, it got us in a rhythm.
A driving gear, yeah.
And we had opportunities there. We've got to eliminate the big plays. That's probably the biggest thing defensively right now is eliminate the big plays, explosive plays.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It comes down to tackling and blocking. And if we can't make tackles in space, it's going to be a long game. And they got us a couple times on that where we're in position to make plays and we didn't. So we know the kids know where they need to be. They're getting where they need to be. They got to finish. I thought Josh Pell made some great reads, some throws.
Good.
He's so much further ahead now than even when I saw him in the summer.
That's great.
And I've been really proud of his leadership. O-line, again, I thought we were probably more physical. We had to be more physical in that game. Run-wise, we struggled a little bit early, but I thought as we got going, they kind of got in a place where they felt confident with what they were doing. But I was really pleased with the way the kids worked. I mean, it was a great test for us.
Yeah. 2 guys that I saw a lot of good plays out of. One on defense was Michael Putney. He batted away at least 2 touchdown passes. He's a short guy, and he's against somebody with 6'3" all the time, and was still batting touchdown passes away here and there. I thought that was good. On offense, I'd hate to be standing in front of Kevin Adams when he's trying to get downfield.
Yeah, I mean, he's a load. I saw him for the first time, and I was like, goodness gracious. I said, we're going to run the ball more. I mean, yeah. You know what? And it's funny that you say that, but Coach Britt and I both made, I said, Coach Britt, he reminds me of Tyler Smith.
The
way he looks. Bigger,
Yeah.
He's bigger. But they run the same. They run pretty much the same.
Low center of gravity, kind of short legs, real powerful tree trunk.
Yeah, I was really proud at how physical Kevin ran. Because I know traditionally here the last few years they've been throwing the ball a lot. Well, we're going back to more of a run style. We're still going to throw the ball around, but
Pell made some good decisions when he decided to run too.
Yes,
made cuts at the right times. Had a couple of nice gainers that looked a lot like Brian Hogan when he was running the ball.
Oh man, let me tell you.
I love my QB1, Brian Hogan and all, but I'm telling you, Pell, a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger arm. No disrespect to the great Brian Hogan, but I mean, the weapons that you have, you got a lot to work with.
Yeah, that's the thing about Josh. He's so confident, man. You're not going to break his confidence because everything he talks about is confidence. I mean, he's got the edge, man. I'm telling you. But yeah, and then you guys are talking about Putney. I was really, really pleased with him. You kind of forget about Putney because he's so quiet. He's a very quiet kid. But when he's out there working, man, he works hard. He just does his job, man. I mean, I said we got a great corner over here. We're going to be able to do some stuff coverage-wise with him over here because we can put him on an island. I'm not afraid to put him on an island. And I think him going against that receiver that Westlake had, I think it was great. I mean, I'm telling you what, man.
He can hold his own against that guy.
I mean,
he's going to do great.
He did, and you know what? He didn't bat an eye. I mean, the receiver made some good plays, but I don't think it phased him much. I mean, he just kept grinding and did a lot of. He played well.
His past two games, Billy Bowman, and now the Westlake scrimmage. Putney has been tested.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to see him back in action. It was good to be at the GUP and see all this stuff happening again. Good to see you back out there doing the things you used to do for the program. So, as we get into the season now, as we said, we're going to have guests come each night. The players by position and the coaches come. You're welcome to drop in any one of those that you've got time to do as well. I'm not asking you to, but if you want to, you can stop in any or all of them or none of them. Just want to make sure we issue the.
Yeah, well, if I can come eat, man, I'm going to come eat, man. That's why I told the kids we have the position meetings. I said, y'all need to stagger time so I can make my rounds.
Yeah.
So.
Now, tell us about the coaches that you brought with you from Red Oak. Just describe each one of them, what their names are, what positions they'll be coaching. And let me tell you, I am sure glad that Lanny Williams stayed around. That guy was a tremendous baseball coach. Despite what he does for the running backs in the football program, I was so glad for the baseball program that he didn't go anywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll say this about Cedar Park is all of our head coaches are great people, man. They work hard. They've got really good programs, and Laney's one of those guys where takes pride in what he does. I think him just being a coach, he coaches everything like he's a head coach. I was bragging on Laney a couple of weeks ago. I said, man, you're a really good football coach. You're a really good football coach, man. I love the way he talks to the kids. He's got a demeanor about him where he's got a great relationship with the kids, but they know it's business when he's out there and when he's coaching. And that's the respect that he has from the guys that he's coaching. He's the respect he's got from the team. And he's one of those guys that everybody's comfortable around in the office, and you got to have that family in the office too. It's not just about the kids. The coaching staff's got to be a family too, because we're spending as much time up there or more away from our families. So we've got to be able to work, cohesively and be able to trust each other. And he's just one of those guys that he's valuable to our program. And
give the name and a brief description of each of the coaches that are new.
So I brought obviously Coach Britton, who's been here. And Coach Britton, I tell you what, man, he's just a longtime friend of mine who I just trust him with what we do. He's one of the best secondary coaches I've ever worked with. He's able to make really good adjustments when it's time. That's what he's good at. He's always got a plan. He's got a great relationship with the kids, and I wouldn't have done this without him. Even being a defensive guy, I needed his support, and I've always had that from him. Being able to work with him at Red Oak was great. I brought in my OC, Gilbert Pedraza, and Gilbert's a guy, great young coach who's got a lot of fire. He's a lot like me. I mean, he reminds me of me as a young coach. He's loud, but he's very detailed. Coach Ross brought him into Red Oak. I said, I got this guy from Amarillo who's a great coach. And when he came in, Coach Ross really gave him a lot of responsibility. So I think he's done a great job with our offense. And I actually coached him at Paladuro with Coach Barr.
Oh.
So I'm coaching one of the guys. I'm coaching with one of the guys I coached from a young age. So it's fun seeing that. Brought in my defensive line coach, Curry Reed, who was also a Paladuro graduate. Him and Gilbert graduated together. So
I'll sign off on anybody that you say is a D-line coach. You're the D-line guru coach.
Yeah, we didn't. And I told the kids, I said, we didn't get rid of the beard, man, because Curry's got the big beard. Coach has got the big beard. But, he's a good coach. He played in college. His dad's a coach in the Panhandle, so he's got that coaching gene in him. So a lot of energy with him. Y'all may remember the name Greg Wilco. Greg Wilco, Pflugerville. Ran all over us when we were playing Pflugerville. We went over there to their place, and he was the fullback.
Okay.
Yeah. Went to Arizona, team captain. Greg has traditionally been an offensive coach. He was at SWASU, and he'd been contacting me for a long time at a job in Red Oak, and I just didn't have anything. And when I came here, I had one spot, and I said, it's a defensive spot, man. I said, but you're going to be able to work with one of the best secondary coaches there are, in my opinion, that there is. And I said, I know you want to be on the offensive side, but I think this is. I was like, Greg, what do you want to be as a coach? And he said, I want to be an OC. I said, then you coaching the defensive side of the ball is going to make you that much better.
Sure.
After this year's over, you're going to be so much better than what you ever thought you could be. And you just see him right now. The kids love him. He's got a lot of fire, and he's just that big dude out there. So I've been really happy with Greg. He's a great young coach. Again, a young guy who's got a lot of fire in him. Brought in Eric Sanchez, who's going to our middle school. He was a middle school coach for us. I brought up Coach McCarthy from the middle school.
That's good.
And the thing about Brennan is, Brennan is a long time coming. I think that Coach McCarthy has had chances to move up, and I think this just kind of fit. It was the right time for him.
Yeah.
The positive thing about having him up at the high school and coaching our secondary is that he's been working with Brent for so long, and he knows what we do. So the transition is easier.
Coaching the same defense over
exactly.
to middle school.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes the transition a lot easier to do coming in. So
I know he's scouted for the varsity all these years, and he's been at the middle school as well.
Yep. He knows what we do. And then I brought Jarvis Johnson. Jarvis actually, Coach Willis hired him at Colleyville Heritage. He was my assistant head coach at Red Oak. He's a receiver guy. The thing that makes Jarvis such a good coach is the way how quick he builds relationship with kids. I mean, that's I keep talking about loving kids and having relationships. Programs are built off that, and so many times those things are overlooked. We can yell at kids all day long, we can criticize, but if you don't have a true relationship with them, it's not really going to matter. And Jarvis is that guy that kind of keeps me even keel. When I'm stressing things like that, and y'all I stress a lot. He keeps me level-headed. He's that kind of guy I trust. Kids love him. Coaches love him. We just have really good coaches, man. Good people.
That's good.
And I'm talking even the guys that are from the old staff and guys that Coach Absett brought in. I talked to Coach Absett coming in. I said, "Is there any of these guys? Tell me about the guys you hired." And I trust Coach Absett. He's not going to hire anybody. He's hiring high-quality guys that are great family men. They're great husbands, great fathers, and that to me means more than anything.
I remember both he and Ross talking about this subject one time to me, and in different times, and they're saying basically the same thing, is that they look for good men who happen to be good football coaches. But if they don't pass the first test, they're not even going to worry about asking the football questions.
Yeah, it's funny because I've sat in many interviews with Coach Ross, even at Red Oak, and it's not even about football. All the questions he asks has nothing to do with football. All of them have to do with family. They have to do with the coach's kids. Just the things that have nothing to do with X's and O's. So it's
Ross
a good experience.
told me in that same conversation, he says, I can get a guy who can coach X's and O's. I can get a dozen names off any bulletin board in Texas and find those guys. It's these good men I'm looking for. It's a tougher chore.
Yeah, and I feel like our staff right now, we got a full staff of just good husbands and fathers, man. I'm just telling you, they're good. I'm not saying that because they're on my staff, but I'm telling you because I've gotten to know the guys, and you know I wouldn't have brought coaches here into this community, into this program if I didn't feel that way about them. And I know Coach Apsick when I hired guys that weren't going to do that for this program, and the families that are coming through here. I just, you know, it says a lot.
Yeah. All right, it's almost time for trivia, but before we get into the real trivia segment, I've got one for you, Josh. It covers the number of high schools across the United States that have the same name as teams in our District 11-5A. In other words, give us your guess as to how many Georgetown high schools there are nationwide.
I'm going to go Georgetown nationwide. I mean, there's got to be 2, right? There's another Georgetown on the East Coast. There's got to be a high school Georgetown.
Georgetowns in many states.
Let's say, let's go 50. Right? There's
not that high, actually.
Really?
It's 5.
5?
I was surprised. I was thinking I'd find a number like that, too.
Okay. Shake it off.
How many Anderson high schools are there?
Oh, sorry for those people.
Yeah,
go with
common name.
I'll go with Coach Q, phone a friend, 10.
That's pretty good. It's 11.
Oh.
I almost nailed that one. Okay, what about Manor High School, which in the rest of the country would be Manor High School, of course.
Oh, come on. The Mustangs, for Manor in particular, there's 3.
5.
Oh, come on.
That's close. I mean, you get within a couple, man. That's pretty good.
But how? In the U.S., there's only 3?
There's
5?
only 5.
Huh.
And what's weirder than that, I think, is that for the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 schools, including us, in the district, the only ones in the United States by that name.
Wow. Cedar Park, 101.
1 Cedar Park.
Only 1,
Leander, 1 Pflugerville. Of course, Pflugerville. 1 Weiss and 1 Hendrickson. That was kind of
I know. Well, the Leander could be Leanderthal.
The Leanderthal.
The Leanderthals.
All right, last year at one point, we took a fascinating trip down a rabbit hole that showed us why the United States has fallen in a UN assessment from a 1967 rating as having the number 1 education system in the world to that same assessment last year putting the U.S. at number 23. Oh, my God. I found online some of the questions that the National Education Agency says all of our high school graduates should know the answers to. We fired these questions at Josh, and he got a certain score. Then we fired the same questions at our O-line the night they came on the show. We also fired them at the women's basketball team when we had them on one night. And then the special teams on the football team on another night. Josh beat the O-line. The women's basketball team just edged out Josh's score. And the football special teams just edged out the women's score. So each Tuesday night, we're going to give Josh another crack at 3 more of those NEA questions, and he can solicit the help of our guest, Michael Quintero, tonight on 1 of those 3. And then when we have the special teams on later this fall, we'll see if they can still beat him.
That's right.
All right, so here's the first question.
Are you smarter than a 5th grader? This stuff gives you anxiety. These are anxiety questions.
First one is, what's the longest river in the world?
That would be... the Nile.
The Nile, and I think that's one you got right before also.
I've remembered that one.
You got about half of them right. What is the 33rd longest river in the... No. Number 2, what is the farthest south state capital in the contiguous 48 states?
The furthest south state capital
in the contiguous states.
This was you did this one last year, I think. Oh, was it? It's not Austin. Right, what's the capital? Tallahassee?
Tallahassee.
Let's do it. Let's roll with it. Tallahassee.
You were right the first time. It is Austin.
Oh, come on.
Not by very far, like 16, 18 miles.
Nobody's going to get that. None of the football players are going to get that.
All right, name as many of the 4 U.S. presidents that have been assassinated as you can.
Kennedy, Lincoln.
Yep.
Okay.
You haven't solicited help yet. See if Coach Q knows the other 2.
Q?
Kennedy, Lincoln.
Come on. There were seriously 2 more?
Yeah.
Come on.
Lincoln was the first, and Kennedy was the most recent. There were 2 between them.
One of the Roosevelts.
No?
Okay. I was taking a shot. There's multiple. Dude, I'm blanking.
The thing is, sadly, I bet there isn't a single high school student in this room that's even heard of these other 2 guys. And I find that quite sad. It's William McKinley and James Garfield.
Oh, yeah. Garfield. Missed that guy.
So you got one of these three. Barely, you had Austin right. You almost got 2 out of 3, but you went away from that to another one.
If you want to give me some brownie points, I'll take anything I can get.
We'll give you like a half a point because you first. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So we're gonna give Josh 3 of those questions every week, and then tally them up and see what the special teams
Gives
can
everybody
do.
at home a good baseline that you're doing a lot better than me.
And again, the NEA, National Education Agency in Washington, says that high school graduates should know all of these facts. All right. Time for our preview of Vandegrift. I'm going to cede most of this segment to Coach Quintero, but I will point out that Cedar Park leads the series 8 wins to 3. However, prior to last year's 21-7 win, we had lost 2 in a row to these guys. They are always at or near the top of their district race. They were co-district champs with Round Rock last year and went 4 rounds deep in the 6A playoffs. Picked to win that district, as I said earlier, again this year. So, Coach, what are the keys going to be Friday night?
Just execution. I mean, you play teams like that, you can't make mistakes. I mean, we got to do things right. We got to hold on to the ball. We got to make sure that, again, don't give up the explosive play. I think special teams is going to be a big key to the game. As close as all the games have been, I mean, you're a special teams away of possibly winning or losing a game, and I've been on both sides of that. So, been preaching to the kids about just being great on special teams because being able to flip the field on these guys when it comes to the kicking game, it's going to be important. With Vandy and the way that they move the ball, you got to pin them and make them drive the field, and then we got to put them in those situations, and we got to get off the field on third downs.
Yeah,
we've got to get off the field on third downs.
Get a pass rush.
Yeah, we got to execute on third downs. That's got to be something we're talking about all the time.
Now, who do you think are going to be our receivers for the most part? I would think with Nick Grulon's speed, you got to have him in the mix maybe. Who else would be receivers for us?
Yeah, I mean you got Houston Molinaro.
Oh yeah.
Houston.
Yeah.
Houston, I tell you what, man, he's shifty. I mean he's a smaller receiver, but he's fearless. He's not afraid to go through the middle. I know that sounds cliche, but I mean you got to have that guy.
Yep.
Nick has been a big time bright spot, man. When I got here in the summer, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but after watching him and just seeing some of the catches he's able to make, man, it's pretty impressive, man. I think that
and that speed, he may win a state track championship this year.
And when I found out that he was a dual sport and was big time in track, I said, this kid's pretty special, man. Because if he's able to do the things he's doing in track, if he can catch a ball, we're gonna be all right. So, I think that he's a weapon for us.
Molinaro, Grulon, who else would we throw to?
Nichols at the tight end. I tell you what, he's a big body. He's a guy that I've been really pleased with blocking. I know we're talking about receiving, but he's a guy that can block on the perimeter. And again, he can catch footballs. I mean, that's important. You got a good tight end that's physical and can block and catch balls. You've got a really good you got a really good tight end. And in our offense, you got to have that H-back tight end look. So I've been really pleased with him and what he's done for us.
Who backs up Pell at quarterback?
What's that?
Who backs up Pell at quarterback?
Gavin Bernard.
Okay.
Gavin Bernard. I'll be really honest with you. I've been really pleased with just the development of both of them. Those two coach each other up every. It's funny listening to them because it's funny. It's funny when one's going, the other one is constantly. I have to get on to them. Because, all right, guys. I have to get on to them because they're standing in the way. Like if Gavin's quarterback and you got Josh right behind him, like, you got to move. You have to move. He goes, Coach, I'm helping him. I'm coaching him up. You said you wanted a team full of coaches. I'm coaching him. I said, that's right, I did. I said that. But I tell you what, both of those guys they're extremely hard workers, very, very detailed in their film studies. I've been really pleased with the quarterback play. I really have.
That's terrific. All right, Josh, you got any comments before we head out?
Well, I would just say, I mean, this defensive line for Cedar Park last year, I mean, ever since you've left, I mean, the defensive line has always wreaked havoc on opposing offenses. And this defensive line in particular, with Big Murray Robinson, Ian Ferguson was the newcomer of the district last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much meat right up there on that defensive line. The defensive line, is that a position that you've always coached in the past? And do you break through to these guys? Because I mean, this is such a talented group.
Yeah, that's really, when I was here before, I was D-line. I tell you what, Coach Reed gets irritated with me because I constantly stick my head over there. I say, hey, I'm sorry, man. These are my babies right here. This is D-line is where I got my start on defense, and it's something I take a lot of pride in. And the tradition at Cedar Park has been great defensive lines, and that's a great tradition. I mean, our defense we're going to be as good as our D-line. I mean, really, if you think about it, that's where it starts. And I think, all those guys, Letcher, Tombe, we've got a lot of guys that have come through here that have been great D linemen, and I've been really, really pleased. Murray in the middle is, I tell you what, he's probably the one guy that really. There was a bunch of guys that stood out, but he's probably the first guy I noticed when I put on tape at Cedar Park defensively. Is he takes double teams. I mean, he'll take a double team and won't get moved, and when you're able to do that, you're letting linebackers make plays. Ian, you look at Ian, and he's a pretty big body, but he's a lot more explosive than he looks. Yeah. That's really what was surprising about him. He's a mean kid. I mean, he really is. I mean, he's really nice.
Violence.
He's really nice, but when he gets out on the field, man, he's got a little chip on his shoulder. I mean, I was like, all right, I like this guy.
And you're right about the greasy speed he's got, because he played baseball. I was a little startled. Yeah. And he hits one into right field. And, man, the guy digs around first, head first, slide into second, and stretch a single into a double. That was him.
Well, they told me, like, he plays best. I said, no, you don't. They said, Coach, I swear I play baseball. I was like, all right, man. And then on the other side, we got Payne, who I call him the House of Payne, but he's one that we feel like is going to be really good for us. Aaron Nombo, who's a 11th grader, he's a younger guy.
At the end of the season.
We got some guys that rotate in. Tam, those guys, Small, Armstrong. We got a good group over there that can come in and they can help us out. I'm really, really pleased with the D line, man. Those guys work hard. I just love the tradition over there.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you so much for joining us here tonight. First night here in our new digs, and look forward to you sending those players each week and coming if you can too, and dropping a word here and there.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate what you guys do for Cedar Park football.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Our pleasure. We love doing it. Once again, the Booster Club sponsors this year, and the sponsors of this program: Toyota of Cedar Park, HEB, Rudy's Barbecue, Mungia Real Estate, Alzer's Barbecue, our touchdown sponsor this year, TJ Lewis Real Estate, Army Ant Moving, WAFD Bank, and, of course, Brooklyn Heights Pizza, our new venue. That's it for our season opening episode of Timberwolf Night in America for the 2021 season. Friday night is the team's opener as they go on the road to face the Vandegrift Vipers. Kickoff, 7 o'clock at Monroe Stadium. Our pregame show airs at 6:50. I'll have the play-by-play. Josh with color and analysis. Cecil with technical production and color analysis as the Timberwolves look to start 1-0 again. Again, our thanks to our guest tonight, the head cheese, Michael Quintero. For our QA, Josh Cargile. For my own personal Chris Collinsworth, Josh Willard, this is Brad Cohn signing off. You've been listening to Timberwolf Night in America on the Vype Live Network.